Another edition of Cold Hard Football Facts on Football Nation. Today we dive into one of the icy issues. Kerry Byrne, Butch Stearns. Kerry, let's talk about Maurice Jones-Drew. This is an icy issue. He's last year's NFL rushing leader.
Yep.
He's in a contract holdout. You got to pay this guy, right?
No way. Do not pay him. He's a great player. He's a phenomenal talent. One of the bright shining stars. The only bright shining star on that Jacksonville team last year. But Butch, it's one of the eternal truths of football. Running backs are overrated. Individual single running backs are overrated. It's a running back by committee league, and this guy is not going to help you get any better if your passing game still stinks.
All right, so of course,
don't overpay for him.
Of course, with Cold Hard Football Facts, you're going to back this up with numbers.
Yep.
But first of all, let's talk about Maurice Jones-Drew. I had a chance to talk with him at the Super Bowl. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great talent. He absolutely is.
So, to prove to you how great a guy Maurice Jones-Drew is, here's my interview with him at last year's Super Bowl. Butch Stearns here at Super Bowl 36, Candle in the Wind with MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. All right, so I got 3 nuts. Okay, what do you got for me?
Well, this candle is made by Reebok to signify what we did this year as a whole.
Really?
Yeah. We came out with this shoe called ZigTex, and they energize your feet. I know you've been doing a lot of walking around here. Your legs are probably tired.
Yeah.
I probably walked way more than you.
Yeah.
And I feel fresh.
Really?
Yeah, their energy is an energy drink for your feet.
I like it.
And this candle, I'm here to give this candle to you to symbolize our relationship we just had. This moment.
Can I have a moment? Can I just have a moment?
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take it back. Thank
All right, okay.
you. All right.
So see, at least I thought Maurice Jones-Drew was a great guy. But Kerry, you're telling me the numbers say you don't overpay running backs.
You don't overpay for running backs. I don't care who they are.
All right, so you are all by the numbers with Cold Hard Football Facts. Again, we all love Maurice Jones-Drew. He seems like a great guy.
Absolutely, yep.
He was last year's leading rusher.
Yep.
How are you backing this up with numbers?
Well,
that you don't overpay
let's look
running
at
backs?
recently, and this came up in an interview I did for another website about the AFC South. Let's look at the last 3 rushing leaders in the NFL. 2009, Chris Johnson actually set the single-season record for yards from scrimmage. His team went 8-8. 2010, Arian Foster with the Texans. His team went 6-10. Last year, the rushing leader, MJD, his team went 5-11. These are the best running backs in football the last 3 years. You could argue that MJD right now is the best running back in football. Running backs do not lead your teams to victory. We overvalue them. It's a passing league. It's always been a passing league. And you want to look at it historically, Butch? Jim Brown, the greatest football player of all time, the greatest running back of all time, won 1 championship in 9 years of dominance.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
So again, like a lot of your numbers, people, the old school people want to say, well, the running game was much more important back then.
No way.
But again,
No.
you point to that as a good example.
No.
So let's look at the other end of the spectrum when it comes to numbers. You just pointed to the last 3 rushing champions.
None of them had a winning record.
And none of them had a winning record. But let's look at the last 3 Super Bowl champions and their running games.
Yep. It's a running back by committee. You don't need one guy to dominate. You don't need to overpay. I mean, if you're going to pay 3 times as much for MJD as you are for a second-rate back, you're not going to get 3 times the production. You're just not. Look at the 2009 Saints. Pierre Thomas led the team with, not even 800 yards rushing. 2010, Brandon Jackson, nobody remembers from the Packers, led the team with not even 800 yards rushing. Then last year, Ahmad Bradshaw for the Giants, not even 700 yards rushing. Butch, last year the Giants were the worst rushing team in football, averaged 3.5 yards per attempt. They were still good enough to win the Super Bowl. It's not about overpaying for a running back. It's not about big names at the running back. We like them. We love them. We like to watch them play, but they don't necessarily help you win championships.
So let's wrap up this icy issue. While fantasy football players would argue with you that Maurice Jones-Drew is the leading rusher, a #1 pick, and he should be this year.
The reason it's called fantasy football, Butch.
While Jacksonville Jaguars fans would argue with you is, hey, I'm a season ticket holder. It's one of the only reasons I went to games. They got to overpay him because I won't go to games anymore.
Well, that's different, okay? From a team perspective, how many 32 jerseys do you see? The Jaguars, by the way, don't sell a lot of seats. But MJD is obviously their bread and butter from a business owner perspective. Yeah, maybe you pay him, but that team would be much better off with an elite quarterback.
But looking at the cold, hard football facts, looking at the important numbers that correlate to victory, you're telling us with emphasis 2 important things. Number 1, you don't overpay top running back because it doesn't lead to victory.
Nope.
And number 2, Maurice Jones-Drew is just the latest in a line, so why overpay him?
Exactly. There's no reason to do it. I know you get attached to him as a fan, but don't overpay for him. They're not going to become a better team until their quarterbacking gets better, no matter how good their running back is.
He's Kerry Byrne. I'm Butch Stearns of the Pulse Network. Another edition of Cold Hard Football Facts on Football Nation. We tackle this icy issue. Do not overpay Maurice Jones-Drew.